And welcome back to Across the Board with Ian the Colonel here on hawkradio.org and acrosstheboardradio.com. Now, when you talk about alt albums, and I don't mean alt rock like Yellow Card, A Day to Remember, that kind of stuff, but I mean like pure, almost that indie-sounding alt music, there are a few albums I think that stand out that came out last year. I think one of them, in my opinion, would be Young the Giant. And another one, and I mean first note to last note on the album, has got to be Arrows by, The Lonely Forest. Outstanding band, huge fans of these guys, musically and lyrically. And we have John, lead singer, with us right now. John, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely.
Anytime.
John, I think this is one of the, lyrically, it's just a beautiful album as well. And I think it's the most candid album that I have heard in years. Obviously songs like Turn Off the Song, Go Outside. Is that an introspective song, or is that observational that you saw other artists and thought about that?
I don't know. I just think I was kind of singing from the perspective that guys in bands think they're awesome, and we're really not. I don't know. It just seems like a lot of musicians put themselves on this pedestal, and I don't know. I was just trying to encourage people to turn down the music and hang out outside, I guess. It's pretty basic.
And I like that. And, it's kind of ballsy to go out there and just say, hey, really, I'm serious. Turn off this song. Go have some relationships with real people. Come back. You can listen to the song anytime you want.
Right.
And it's beautiful. But even songs, like End It Now, I mean, is even kind of funny. You're talking about like a plane crash and that sort of thing. But it's almost... I mean this in the best possible way, that it sounds like an album you wrote while you were thinking of it. Like something came through your head and you wrote it down and you were just like almost like freestyling. But it's beautiful lyrically.
Thank you.
Two notes in a beat. I love what you have behind that. And you're so detailed in your writing, talking about what it feels like to play a chord and how your body actually works and, muscle memory and that kind of thing. And it's incredible. What inspires you lyrically?
I think a lot of literature, other artists. I like really descriptive writing. I think I used to be very literal in my lyrics, and
Okay.
I'm getting a little bit more abstract, a little bit more ambiguous, I think, which is kind of fun because that lets the listener, interpret it in their own way, which is what I like to do with other artists.
For sure. And again, we're talking about Arrows, just came out last year, but I really do feel this is one of the best albums of 2011. I'm not just saying that because I'm on the phone right now. I mean, it literally note for note, I love this album. It's listenable, not just, I've seen other reviews of the album where people have said, it's good road music, when you're driving, turn it up and that kind of stuff. I agree, but I don't think it's one of those albums that is only good for that. I think you could be doing anything, and it's just a great album, to get you through the day, to listen to on a date, whatever. I think it's fantastic. And it sort of reminds me, some of the songs sort of remind me vocally and musically of a little bit of Fountains of Wayne. Is that am I off base there? Or did you ever listen to their stuff?
I've actually never, I can't say I've ever listened to Fountains of Wayne. I feel like maybe I've heard one song, like a single, that was on the radio for a while, but I've never really, I've never gotten any of the records or anything.
There you go.
Should I? Do you think I should? Are you suggesting them to
Yeah,
me?
I think so. I think they're a great band. Their early stuff, and like Stacy's Mom was a big song for a while, but their early stuff was a little bit better. But in any case, yeah, check them out, see what you think. But Colonel, go.
Cool.
Now, you also did the, back in 2007, you had the album Nuclear Winter, which was a very creatively different album. It was a concept album. A lot of people don't normally have positive reviews of concept albums, but this one was great. That was recorded in your home studio, if I read correctly.
Yeah, actually, that Nuclear Winter and then the record after it, We Sing the Body Electric, were both recorded in the garage where we practice.
So how much different then was it recording, from your home garage studio to a full-on dedicated studio then?
It was a lot different. I mean, lots of nice equipment when we recorded Arrows. we felt a little bit more like we were doing it professionally.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's pros and cons to that. I think there's a lot of good things that came from us being in a studio with nice equipment. I think there's also a lot of negative things in that you kind of lose some of the honesty and maybe some of the almost what I really liked about our earlier music was kind of the youthful, just excessive use of noise and quirkiness and stuff like that. Things that are actually, right now we're demoing our next record, and we're trying to find the middle ground between both, like the earlier, like youthful, loud recordings, and then
Right.
Arrows, which is a little bit more introspective, a little bit more disciplined. So kind of finding the middle ground in between the two.
Now, on Arrows, you worked with Chris Walla, who is a guitarist and a producer with, he's a Grammy-nominated rock band, Death Cab for Cutie. Huge fans of Death Cab for Cutie as well. When you worked with Chris, obviously this wasn't a professional studio, but in multiple locations. Did you try anything different? You talked about those sounds that you got, when you guys were a younger band. What are some of the techniques that you used in tracking to get interesting sounds? I mean, I've heard people putting amps down the hall to record a different sound, or building carpeting like tunnels to get weird sounds. I know Dwayne Eddy back in the 50s, 60s used to bury a barrel and put an amp down there and mic that. I mean, what kinds of crazy things did you guys do, or was there anything to get an interesting sound or tone?
On Arrows especially, we since we had more time and just more resources, we had a lot of fun with interesting recording techniques. Like, I sing vocals through a fan that we slowed down to get kind of a weird, I don't even know, not really a tremolo effect, but if you listen to the beginning of Tunnels on Arrows, there's like this strange thing happening in the headphones. That's me recording through a fan.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and then the guitar part in Coyote that Tony, our lead guitarist, plays, which is the intro of the song. We had this empty popcorn bin, one of those tin bins that you get big things of popcorn in, and
yep.
We put a microphone inside that, and then he wired all these different speakers together that went from his guitar cabinet, and we were just having fun, but it definitely made it sound interesting. And actually, we were demoing with Chris Walla a couple of weeks ago in Seattle, and I had this kind of really gritty guitar part I was playing, and he took a knife and cut a hole through my speaker, and we recorded my guitar with that sound, and it just kind of sounds like the speaker's broken, but it ended up just being a really interesting noise, and so we've kept it.
That is interesting. I actually just read that Dan Auerbach was saying they did that on the Black Keys album. He actually blew a speaker, and a couple of the songs they recorded with that as well. It's amazing what people, it sounds cool. Yeah, right. It's like, the speaker's blown. We can use that. It just sounds great.
Yeah, no, totally. I think depending on the sound you're going for, I think blown speakers sound really awesome, because I love fuzz. I love really loud, distorted guitars, and they work well together.
What else did working with Chris Walla, other than the technical creativity, what else did working with him help bring to the album?
Chris is a really brilliant songwriter, actually. I mean, he's got this great perspective on song structure, and in the past, I would write these songs, but they'd always be maybe a little bit too long or maybe too short, and he really helped me trim the fat or make something longer, and he's helping us do that on our next record too. But it's really great to have somebody who's not in the band that you trust, and I love Death Cab for Cutie. We've all been fans of Death Cab for Cutie for a long time, so it's nice having somebody who's in a band like that give you objective opinions on your songs, and it really helps. It's super flattering too to have somebody like him tell you, you're doing this really, really well, you should do it again, or maybe this is excessive, maybe you should shorten this, and I don't know. It's teamwork, and it's a lot of fun.
Again, you're listening to Across the Board with Ian the Colonel here with John from The Lonely Forest. Now, it's well documented, John, that you guys are from a small town out in Washington State, kind of remote, not a lot out there except kind of a Navy base. Do you think being from a small, remote area helped you become more introspective with your lyrics, or is that just nurture the way you were brought up and the people you hung out with?
I wonder about that because I think there's lots of people who were raised in Manhattan who write introspective lyrics. It probably has a lot to do with what they read as a kid or what they were reading and what they were watching, the kind of people they're hanging out around. I think the Northwest, especially where we are, it's remote and it's really beautiful. So I think there's a lot in my lyrics, at least, that have to do with what I'm looking at around me. But I think like you said, we're pretty open about coming from a small town. We love it here. We kind of like being removed from everything that's happening in the world. Even from Seattle, the Seattle music scene's brilliant, but it's kind of nice to be outside of it because we just make the music we want to make, and we're not too concerned with what's happening in the scene.
Right. I think it's interesting that you mentioned that you read a lot as well, and I've found that many of my favorite lyricists, Glenn Phillips, for example, from Toad the Wet Sprocket, he's highly inspired by what he reads as well. What do you read? What are some of the books or articles or whatever that pop out in your head as that one really affected me?
Right now I'm reading a lot of Isaac Asimov.
Okay.
I think I like science fiction a lot. I don't read nonfiction very often as far as books are concerned. Every once in a while I'll read one. I read articles a lot.
Okay.
Lately, I've just been trying to keep tabs on politics, so I read that. But I try not to let that bleed over into the music too much. I definitely love science fiction and old classic books and I don't know, anything with good details and crazy storylines, and I'm fascinated by space. I think that's why I tend to gravitate toward science fiction. Not new science fiction as much as old science fiction.
Right. Do you read the science fiction a lot of too for the escape, to feel like you're somewhere outside of where you are in your reality? Yes,
I'd say actually it's funny that you mentioned that, because I think in the past it's kind of even been a problem of mine, is that I'm totally an escapist. I love video games that take 200 hours to beat, and I love really long books where the authors establish this other world or whatever. And I do that a lot. I read a lot. I play video games. I watch movies. I love Lord of the Rings and books like that. And so yeah, I guess in a way I do use it to escape. I have to find the balance between real life and books, though.
Yeah, but it bleeds over into your music, because the music, when you listen to it, you can find it enveloping you, and where you can get lost in it as well, and it is like an escape as well. So that definitely translates into your music.
That's good. That makes me happy. I hope people can kind of get lost in the music.
Well, then, what did you think of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, the movie? Were you happy with that, or did it not live up to the books? And are you looking forward to the Hobbit coming out?
I did like Lord of the Rings. I think when they came out, I think I saw the first one 4 times in the theater. I was super excited, and they left a lot out. But it would be tough to make a movie.
It would be 6 hours,
or a movie trilogy, without leaving stuff out. I'm looking forward to The Hobbit. I'm hoping that the reasoning behind splitting it into 2 movies is just so that they can be, accurately depicting the storyline and all the details that Tolkien put into the story, and not just so that they can make more money. Because it seems to me that movie studios are splitting up, movies into 2 just so that they can make a bunch of extra money without having really to promote the movies the way they used to. So.
Yeah, or re-releasing in 3D. If you guys have a concert DVD coming out soon, it'll probably be in 3D as well. The Lonely Forest in 3D, IMAX, everything else.
I doubt it. We don't have enough money to do 3D.
And it's interesting that you mentioned politics. There are so many musicians, actors, celebrities in the public eye who use their celebrity, that status, as a soapbox, and push their politics and that kind of thing. George Clooney being one of them, and a lot of people like that. You said you wouldn't touch on it too much, but what are your thoughts on that? You follow politics. Do you prefer to keep it separate, or do you want to push or pull people in one direction?
It's interesting, because I think I'm constantly debating that in my head, whether or not it's okay for me to express my political views.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's all kind of wrapped up in one, you know, political views, spiritual views, moral views, whatever I feel like expressing or vocalizing, you know, I have to be really careful. And I don't really like it when artists are super just over the top with their beliefs, or partisan might be the right word or whatever, but
right.
That kind of freaks me out a little bit. But at the same time, you know, people ask me what I think, I'm going to tell them. So it's definitely a struggle within me to, I don't know, I don't even know how to say it, check myself, you know, make sure I'm not...
That's well said.
Preaching to people, I guess is a good way to say it.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah, there's a difference between pushing your views on someone and answering a question, honestly, for sure. Yeah. Well, you guys are going on tour soon, and we're greatly looking forward to this because Portugal, the Man, also friends of our show. You know, we had them on last year, and you guys are touring with them. Now, people are listening all across the world right now. You guys are touring mainly right now in the U.S., all over the U.S., so wherever you live, they're coming near you. Lonely Forest is coming to you. We're excited about you guys coming to Baltimore.
Jägermeister tour.
On the Jägermeister tour, exactly. So we're excited about you guys coming to Baltimore, Maryland, because that's 2 hours from us. So we're big fans of Ram's Head Live as well.
Be there.
What are some of your favorite places to play around the country, or are there places that you haven't played that you would like to?
I love playing in the United States. I think Washington, D.C. is one of my favorites.
Like 930 Club, or
930 Club is probably the coolest place I've ever performed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's amazing there. I love it. You know, and I'm learning to love most, if not all, the cities we visit. I really, really enjoy playing like Montreal and Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say the places that we haven't played yet that I'm looking forward to playing someday would be Europe. I really, really, you know, want to play in Prague or I don't know, Amsterdam or something like that. It just sounds awesome.
That would be cool for sure. I've never been to those places either, but that would be an incredible tour, I would imagine. Now, we've had some artists on that have said they don't get to experience a city when they're on tour. You know, they see the airport, or they see, you know, like the freeway when they come in on the bus. They play a show and then they're out of there. Like they're in the theater and then they're out. They don't get to see anything. You sound like the kind of guy that would appreciate, you know, the architecture or the culture of a city. Do you ever get to take the time to, you know, take in an area?
Yeah, you know, it really depends on the schedule for the day or the next day. You know, because oftentimes, you know, we got to wake up early and drive 9 hours and then load in and play and then leave because we have to get, you know, somewhere that's 8 hours away for a morning radio appearance or something like that. And that's really when you don't get to take in your surroundings. You know, usually you get to see the neighborhood that you're in. That can be good, that can be bad, depending on where you're at. But,
right.
We're pretty serious about seeing things and experiencing things. You know, we actually did a drive to meet up with this band called Two Door Cinema Club. We drove from Anacortes, Washington to Boston, and it was like a 60-hour drive. We only stopped at gas stations and Subway. But we did take like an hour and a half detour to Mount Rushmore.
Sweet.
And that was simply because none of us had been there, and we wanted to witness it. And so we drove there, we saw it, we took a picture, and then we kept driving. And it was short, but it feels good to be able to say that we stopped in and saw Mount Rushmore. So
nice.
Yeah, and you know, be able to. That's one of the big things about being on the road is, you know, it's hard to find that balance between stopping and seeing the things that you want to see, and, you know, sticking to the business aspect as well. What do you plan on doing with your life when it's all said and done? When the band is done playing years from now, what do you plan on doing with your life after that? Is it going to be more traveling? Is it going to be, just relaxing,
writing on the side,
writing, reading?
You know, I think in an ideal world, I would definitely want to be home. I'm married and I like being home. I really would enjoy writing songs for other artists because I can do that from my house and I can record them in my house. Right. And I just love songs. You know, I love writing songs. I love writing songs for artists that don't sound, that they sound different from what I'd normally listen to. It's almost like acting or something. You know, I have to kind of get in their shoes and think how they think, or think how their audience thinks. Or
you're a method writer.
It's kind of hard to explain, but essentially I would love to be a songwriter someday. I'd also really enjoy scoring video games, like writing the music for video games. I think would be a lot of fun.
there's probably a lot of money into that too, with the popularity of video games being, at a high. There's probably a good career in that when sure said and done.
Yeah, like scoring for what kinds of games, like Skyrim, that kind of thing, and writing for what types of bands?
Video games, I'd probably enjoy scoring something like Skyrim or Red Dead Redemption or, Fallout. I love the long, drawn-out RPG games. Anything weird and dark, I think I would really enjoy.
Okay.
And as far as other artists, I would write for anybody from, Maroon 5 to Justin Bieber to probably not metal music and hip-hop. I don't think I could do that. But anything where, the music's revolving around a certain pop sensibility or, a certain, I guess, pop sensibility is a good way to say it. But any pop music, I think I would really love to write for other people.
So then, what you're saying is you would love to be the next Carole King.
I don't know. There's a guy named Dr. Luke who writes all these crazy songs for Kesha and I know all those pop singers who don't actually write their own music, and that just sounds like fun to me. I would love to be sitting in a restaurant somewhere and have a pop song come on and think to myself, I wrote this, and nobody knows. Like I'm eating a sandwich. And nobody knows, and nobody cares.
Yeah,
I think that sounds really brilliant.
Yeah, there's some anonymity to that, and you can relax. That's interesting. And how do I say this politely to the other artist? I won't name any other. I won't call anybody out, but some of the artists that you're talking about writing for, I would way rather hear the Lonely Forest play the songs than them. So that would, hopefully maybe you writing for them would make their songs better. I don't know, but some of those.
Who knows?
Yes.
I think. The Lonely Forest, the four of us, we plan on playing music for a long time.
Good.
We really see this as a career. We have lots and lots of songs. It's just a matter of finding the time to record them and promote them and release them properly, and then record and then tour as much as we can.
Right.
And so I'm hoping we do it for a long time. I'm really hoping that this is something that we continue to do for 15 or 20 years. Although we do have a pact between the four of us that if we record a record and there's people that we let listen to our music before it's released to kind of gauge how maybe the general public is going to react to it. And if everybody's telling us that it sucks, I think we're just going to try to break up because we don't really want to crap all over our own legacy. A lot of bands just continue to release records even though they're starting to suck, and that's just I don't know. It doesn't seem like much fun to me.
Agreed. And again, won't name any names, but there are some bands out there that rhyme with Metallica that keep doing that. So,
right.
But John, if you know the world is going to come to a close here and end in 10, 15 minutes, something like that, what are the last musical notes that you want to hear? Last song that you want to hear or perform? Yours or anybody else's?
I probably wouldn't want to perform. I would enjoy hearing Once in a Lifetime by Talking Heads, probably.
That's a good call.
I've got a couple of songs that are up there in my top 10. That's one of them. But maybe that, or I don't know. I'd probably enjoy hearing like a gospel choir sing some crazy old hymn or something to make me feel peaceful before the world explodes.
That's a great one as well. I like that. Good call. It makes me think, So, again, you guys are going on tour. The tour kicks off April 3rd in Boise, Idaho, and wraps up May 6th in San Francisco, California. So looking forward to that. And you guys are out there, the website, Facebook, Twitter. You guys are on a little bit of everything. Where can all the fans keep up with you guys, all the tour dates, and the new, any kind of progress on the new album?
Facebook.com/The Lonely Forest really is the best place to get our news.
Right.
We update it regularly, and we also do Twitter and stuff. I have my own Twitter. Our guitar player Tony does as well. But Facebook's a really good place to stay connected.
Awesome. Well, John, again, we appreciate it, and go out and get Arrows. Again, it was released last year, but if you haven't bought it, and I know I say this about some bands, but not many, but don't buy one song. Don't buy Go Outside because you've heard that on the radio. Buy the whole album. Every song is just as good as that one. I mean, it's a catchy tune, but every song is just as good. And again, it's so clear the time that you put into these lyrics, the thoughts, into the melodies and everything, and the entire band. You guys are outstanding musicians and instrumentalists. So we appreciate the care that you put into crafting each song.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely.
Anytime.
Arrows, go out and get it. That's an order. Ian the Colonel will be back on Across the Board in just a few minutes. You're hearing us on either hawkradio.org
or acrosstheboardradio.com.